Today we're going to talk about some awesome things on the convention. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of the Facebook, social media aspects. I think we're going to do John Acuff.
What an exciting presenter. So like, it's so cool in convention that it's obvious that some people are very in the company, you know, they're Royal Crown Diamonds or they're part of the management of the company and whatnot. And then it's really cool to see these people who, whether they are part of the company or not, and I'm not sure that he is, but he's made some reference to like, you know, I've come to this, I've been talking at Young Living conventions like forever. And so he kind of has this sense of like, he knows what it's about. He's so willing to help, and he's very inspirational.
So John Acuff, I'm not sure if he's actually a member, but I do know that he came to our convention, the one in Texas, which might have been like 2014, 2015. I'm not sure. God, I've been to a lot of conventions. I'm just always growing though. And that's the beauty of it, is like when you're in that mindset of growth and like envisioning or, you know, wanting to and having that desire to continue to grow, it's cool just seeing the different things that you start to attract. Going back to John Acuff and realizing that he is just an amazing leader. He also talked and did like a 4-part, so this is something you might want to go look at. It's on the Young Living Leadership Development page, or anyone can go and look at this. And it was 4 parts, like one Thursday every week or something. And I know Facebook is not always the best thing and you have to kind of search for it, but you'll see his face or it'll say something, and maybe I'll share one of them in the group. He sort of expanded, but he was talking then about pivoting. And he just knows that as a community in Young Living, we really do care about each other. Like, I care about all of you. I care about like the people that I know will be joining Young Living. I care about people who aren't in, you know, it's just a very like, we have this unity in Young Living, and he can recognize and see that. So yeah, it's a cool thing to see. And I loved how he mentioned that a side hustle is anyone's superpower that anyone can use. I thought that was pretty cool. What else, or what did you want to mention about what you learned from him?
Oh, there was a lot that I learned from him, definitely. And I think we were talking before we started recording here about that idea of side hustle as a superpower. And it's like anyone can do it in it, even people who are very successful in other fields aside from like network marketing or aside from online marketing. They're looking at both of those things and going, hey, like, this is the wave of the future. So these are people who are really, you were mentioning Bob Proctor, right? Like,
Yeah.
Super intelligent in business. And they're looking at this and going, yeah, this is really the way to go. And so I would, you know, ask ourselves, like, what is it that's blocking me from thinking this could be successful? And that's why I like to emphasize that I'm not super tech savvy. I get by. Like, it's a learning process. It's a learning curve. But I get in it and I go, hey, because I can see the value of where this is going. And if you get on that train now or use this, maybe you're still not working, you have extra time. This has been so tremendous for me, like to have extra time to really start doing this stuff more and more. And another wonderful Crown Diamond who was in convention, she was talking about, it was stuck in my head, about like, it's a process, it's a process, it's a process, not just business, your online business, but cultivating relationships with people is a process, you know, and those relationships might lead to them being part of your team. But the whole business thing also is a process. And I think we have this Disney idea in our head that like magically someday the fairy godmother is just going to come down and it's going to happen. And again, being in kind of that unknown or that shaky territory where like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, just be consistent. Just get in, just start it, and be inspired by all. I mean, how many amazing people, this was really inspiring to me once this pandemic hit and people were going more online to interact with each other. The plethora of people, not only in my own circle, but just around the world, like the Tony Robbins Challenge and all of this stuff is just like, they're just coming out of the woodwork going, I have this to share. I have this to share. I have this to share. It's free. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing what people are coming out with right now. And it's so inspiring.
It is. And I yes, I love it. I love the Tony Robbins challenge. I've been really enjoying all of the training from Young Living as well. I also liked how you mentioned the Disney idea
Yeah.
or any like movie, you know, we don't always see, maybe we see a little bit, but you can't express in a movie in 2 or 3 hours all of them. I mean, in some maybe, but especially if it's trying to be a fairy tale, a happy thing, we just think, oh, it's going to be always like awesome. And it can be definitely a challenge. And I also liked how you mentioned, and you said it a little differently, but it is the mindset idea. And Carol, and I don't think you saw that one yet, but Carol talks about like what you just asked about, what is it you're blocking yourself with? Like she has some really great quotes on that people say to themselves all the time. Oh, I don't want to make money off my friends, or yeah, here it is. So conflicting thoughts. You can say like cancel, cancel, or delete, delete. Like if a negative thought comes in, because I've randomly had that happen, I'm like, where did that come from? And that's how you can also use your oils too, because you want to, once you do that, you want to refocus and reinforce your desired goal. And you can do that right here too. I know it's kind of a little weird if you're in public, if you want to like, you know, cancel, cancel, delete, delete, or just use one of them. And then you think, okay, no, I am worthy of sharing this. I can do this. I can, or whatever, you know, I can share Young Living with people. It's easy. She said, like, here's one of the fears of being pushy or salesy. Well, just be a friend showing them the product, you know, or a friend, like, you know, solve a problem, be authentic, you know, so that people know that you're there for caring. You don't need to be pushy. That's not going to help. If you think of anything, when you're pushy, people resist. And I think that's part of what's happening right now. People are being too pushy about certain things, and other people are resisting, because it's something that Thomas Troward talks about in his book, Papers on Mental Science. It's one of the ones that we are studying in basics. And that talks about like lightly touching things, like, you know, and having that light touch, that force and that power meets with more power and force. Like, you guys have probably been in conversations with people where you've kind of walked in defensive, so then you were met with defensiveness. But if you walk in with a little bit more of an open mind, then you're going to have that open-mindedness. It's really cool. Another fear of being rejected or fear of failing. And the brain is wired to keep us safe. So you have to like remind yourself of your why, and keep your why will keep you authentic. Knowing that why is important, because even if you hear the word no, which I have, it's like, okay, cool. And also another thing in this industry is no just means not right now. Maybe you didn't, yeah, yeah. Maybe you didn't solve the problem. You didn't really share like this, or you weren't listening enough. So listening is important.
Yeah, I think in that situation, we can always reflect and say, was it something that I did or the way that I approached, and making course corrections there. And then also knowing that there's plenty of unknown that you don't know on the other side with that person. And so that person's not a bad person because they said no, or this, that, or the other thing. It's just no means not right now. And a thing with the sales that I just wanted to mention that I thought was really fun was with that idea of, I don't want to be pushy or salesy. Like one of the speakers, she was like, then don't be pushy or salesy. Like, and another one was like, yeah, just meet people. I think it may have been John Acuff. Just meet people like the way that you would like to be met, because you don't know how they want to be met. And we can't read minds about how someone wants to be met with sales. So the best way you can do it is just do it the way that you would like it done to you. And
right.
so that's a good guiding principle, I think.
It is a little bit of that idea that you were saying, like, do it how you would, because you don't know, you can't read their mind. And there are different, ideas of how to approach people and whatnot, but tailor it to you so that you're being your true self or authentic self, whatever term you like to hear. And then also make sure that you're believing in your success. So it's having that mindset. Like, I think I talked, I don't know if it was before we recorded last time or when we were, but I was talking about, like, okay, I'm going to call this person. What am I going to say? How are they going to respond? It's kind of make up the conversation in my head before I would call them. So then I would kind of be freaking out and have that energy of freaking out. And that's what I'm putting out there as I'm calling them. Instead of just like knowing certain questions and calling them and realizing that, oh, okay, this is my idea and I'm going to mention these ideas, but I also want to make sure that I'm really listening to what they are saying. John Acuff was really great with mentioning, like, our passion was one of those circles. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the passion and what he mentioned about it?
Yeah, so he had these kind of three keys to a successful side hustle. And this is what he learned over time. And so he first mentions passion, although it's not one of the keys. What passion does is it leads into the purpose. And so passion is like the why, the drive, the desire. So it's almost like the raw force, the way I see it, behind then kind of what gets refined into what is my purpose. So if you've ever written like a mission statement or like a goal kind of thing, it's kind of like a combination of those two things. It's like, what do I stand for? What is my fire behind this? And then how am I translating that into something that I'm going to kind of broadcast to the world in a sense? He said, action turns passion into purpose. So again, we're pointing to that thing of action. We get paralyzed with fear and other things, and perfectionism and these kinds of things, and even apprehension can be a manifestation of fear. So it's like, how does that, it prevents action. It prevents you from moving forward. And a huge thing about life in general is that it's always moving forward. And if we're just putting the brakes on, we're not actually in alignment with the nature of life and living. And Jean and I were talking about how important it is to really, seize the day, like the carpe diem. It's like, how can I win today is a question to ask yourself. And that really puts you in that flow of life. Now, do we have to do things like kind of check ourselves and be like, oh, I'm feeling stuck or whatever? Like, what would happen if today was my last day? Sometimes we kind of have to check ourselves with that viewpoint so that we can get into life a little bit more. The more we get into life and the more we're living our lives now, when that life is available to us, when death comes, when some kind of end comes, we won't have those regrets. How many stories or movies have we watched where people are on their deathbed and have all these regrets about the things they didn't do in their life? Something like a pandemic is kind of giving you that death check. Like, hey, if this were to end tomorrow, like, who are you? What have you done? Kind of what legacy are you leaving? Did you live your life with happiness? And it really points to that is our choice right now, to live our life with happiness and to live our life with purpose and passion and all those things, and to really take action and value the gift of our life. I think is so important.
Right. It's so true. We definitely have to add the value and be grateful. And that was one of my questions today or on Friday about how, good morning, what are you grateful for today? So that people could kind of get into that mindset. And we also do have an oil called gratitude. That was another oil, since my friend George did just pass, that I realized, I was like, oh, I should probably have that oil. So if you do have some things that are happening, and that, that practicing that gratitude, like you can have affirmation and gratitude statements every day. And you can also get the oil gratitude. So those are like 2 tips. So throw that on your essential rewards order for next month, which is soon. So get that gratitude oil. You have your purpose, you have that why, you have that passion, but you got to figure out the need of the audience. And I think you kind of already kind of tipped a little bit on the, read less minds, ask more questions, right?
I love that. Yep. Let me just mention something on purpose real quick that I found
Okay.
really helpful, which was he said, the bigger your purpose, the bigger your resilience. So I think a big fear, yeah, when we go into these unknown things is like, am I going to be able to stand the test of time with this? Am I going to be able to stick to this aside from people's rude comments or people saying no, or feeling like, oh, I just don't have it in me today to do this business? Like that, the bigger your purpose, the bigger your resilience. And so if you look at these, he had them in circles. So he had these interlocking like Venn diagram circles, which was purpose, need, and market as being the 3 keys to a successful side hustle. I like it that arranged that way, but I would also kind of think of it in the terms of kind of like a foundation. The foundation has to be in passion and purpose. And then like from there, then you can look into, because if you know your foundation of purpose and the passion, you're going to know who you want to talk to. When you know who you want to talk to, in some sense, that's the market. And then it's like, what does the market need? And so then all those things should be aligned. So we don't want to fall into like, I want to try to be everything to everybody, or I need to like, well, like I already work with this population, so I should just work my, like what I'm doing into their need. Like sometimes that works, but we've got to check back into like, what is my passion? Because if we're trying to like cramp that into there, then he would say you're working with just the need in the market and you've lost your passion, and he'd call that a day job. Okay, so you're doing what somebody else wants you to do versus coming from that true passion that you have and then going, who now can I market this to? Who can I choose as my audience so that that feeds back on my passion, and the passion outflows from me to that audience, and then it comes back. It's a nurturing relationship in that way, and it's productive in both a personal sense and also like a business sense. So yes, read less minds, ask more questions. It's going to be easier to meet a need like that. He said, I'd always rather ask questions than try to fabricate in my mind what I think somebody needs. And again, that like what Jean was saying about listening, the same thing about asking questions. Part of us has this resistance to those because those things feel scary. Like if I put myself out there and I ask a question, maybe someone won't respond in the way I want them to respond. Maybe they're going to criticize me. Maybe won't respond at all, et cetera, et cetera. Similarly with listening, if like Jean's example of going into a conversation, a highly charged conversation of like, it becomes a little nervous. You're trying to anticipate what the other person's going to say so that you're ready to answer it. We're often listening so that we can speak again. And so the true listening is really being open to hearing what that person is actually saying and not preemptively kind of going over them with what we want to say. And so it's a skill to develop, but it is really important for business.
Yeah.
And it gives us a certain maturity as a human being in relationships. And I think that's really being highlighted right now in our relationships to other people through, especially through social media and whatnot.
You did really well with the need, and even just like recapping all of what the market, the purpose, and the need. And I liked your foundation idea, and that's kind of what I've heard several times of when you are first growing your business, you are laying the foundation, and there are definitely going to be people that you are going to want to help, and but if they're not there, if they're not really listening to you or they don't hear the message yet, it might take more time, and developing that relationship is just so key. And it is a process, like we mentioned before. It's a huge process, and it kind of reminds me of also my art like I was an art major, like, and learning processes through art, and how, like, some people, some of my friends, because I started focusing more on this business and not doing like painting or ceramics, they're like, well, you should really get back to art. And it was like, uh, yes and no, like that's, it's still like, yes, I love art, but in a way I'm still doing it just with people and creating and developing that culture, especially when my life has been profoundly changed. And you guys, like, seriously, I can't express this enough, and it's probably hard for you to realize, but I used to be sick all of the time. Like, that was my life. I got used to it. That's how sick I was. I got used to having a headache all the time. It wasn't that bad, but it was there, and it was my sinuses, and my sinuses were just done. And that's why I am super passionate about this, because I've heard people, oh, I'm just so tired. Oh, well, you have so much energy because you're young. Like, dude, my mom is 68 now. She has more energy than most other parents, and she has my two teenage brothers that both have special needs. It's not age, y'all. I'm sorry, not sorry. It's not age. It's what you're feeding in your body and what's in your environment. So when you have that profound change, you have to share it with people. And so that's where I, like, every time I'm sharing Young Living, that's where I try and go to, is like, I have to share this no matter what, because I know that my life has been benefited. And if someone is ready, their life will be benefited too.
One thing he did say, which corresponds to the market, is that he was saying like clean living and pure products are what people need now. Like it's actually part of the national conversation, and companies like Whole Foods, have kind of brought this more into the public, like more broadly, as a supermarket. And basically Young Living knew this a long time ago, and so they've been ahead of the curve for a long time. But the great thing about selling this kind of stuff now is people are looking for it. It's part of the meme of culture that's going on right now. People who have some kind of sense of it are going, oh, that's right. Is this in here? So, years ago it started with like RBST, the growth hormone, being in dairy. And so there was a big legal controversy with this because people who used it on their cows didn't like that people were putting that label on milk that didn't have cows treated with RBST, because they knew that that was a selling point and that people were going to start asking questions about, why does this one say that this stuff is not in there? What is this other milk that I've been drinking? What's that got in it? And so similarly with beauty products and whatnot, people are looking at it saying paraben free or SLS free, and they're going, oh, is that not supposed to be in products? And then they're examining their products. So you're getting more of an educated audience with all of this interaction we have, like worldwide through the internet. And it's pretty awesome. And so him pointing that out and going, listen, you basically already got a warm audience for the most part for this stuff. It's at least somewhere in their consciousness that if you start talking about it, they're going to go, oh, maybe I should be interested in this.
It's true, you're right. And that's part of the market's already there. You will probably just need to foster those relationships, be yourself, find some peace into asking those questions. Asking those questions meaning, like, what is it they're looking for? Maybe you just hear them, you already know, because, and this is actually a good way to maybe hone down to a specific product. Granted, I usually talk on all of the premium starter kits at least once a week. They're all just so great, and you don't want to leave any of them out, because someone might really be more interested in Ningxia Red than they are in supplements. Whereas someone really might want the clean living, the thieves, more than the oils, or, like, so that's, and not only that, but like, we need to go beyond oils, because yes, oils are awesome. And I definitely had my life changed just starting with oils. But I used less of them once I upgraded my products to the chemical-free products, like the Thieves Cleaner. Like, all of my stuff is Young Living, or I do some DIY, but for the most part, I just use the stuff that Young Living makes, because that's what I do. It's just easier. I can dilute the Mouthwash, I can dilute everything if I wanted, or I can keep it the way it is. It just depends on what we want to do. We are wellness, purpose, and abundance. It's all three of those things. So you have the wellness side, they want clean living, they're asking more questions. So maybe bring in some of the abundance.
Exactly. Yeah. People need financial flexibility right now. And so we talked about this in another video. For me personally, it's like I see my profession possibly changing because it's been very in-person contact, or teaching, which is a very in-person contact, at least for the school that I work for. So it's like, how can I make more of this online? How can I spend time in my day where I've got time to hop on Facebook, make those consistent posts, to do some research on things that I'm interested in that's part of my point of view, share that with other people, to engage with other people and build relationships. I'm not saying all of this is easy. I'm saying this is like something I'm excited about because I'm really starting to do it now. And when you start to do it, it starts to build that momentum and it starts to build those new habits. And so I think a lot of our thing is we get real stuck in old habits. And then we find ways to justify the old habits. Whether it's someone else is making us do it this way or we've always done it this way. And one saying that's always stood out to me is we can gather evidence for anything. So please keep this in mind
That's
when
a good
you're
point.
hearing the thoughts in your own head, or you're seeing a post on Facebook where somebody's saying, I'm right, you're wrong, and this is why. It's like, yeah, try to have that in your head, like that's one possibility. And you can also tell people when they come to you with that, or you have those own kind of thoughts in your head, just go, that's one possibility. People don't like that. They don't like that answer, but it's true. It's like you can gather evidence to support any point of view or any story. There really is no right way
Yeah.
or opinion or story.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Adding adding there is no right way. You just said it perfectly. I shouldn't even try and recap it. It was just perfect. The other thing I wanted to mention is the four components of a goal.
Yeah.
And, we've seen different things similar to a SMART goal. So I'm going to focus on what John Acuff said. But his first thing was results. Have some sort of results tied to it, or make sure you're paying attention to the results. That way, when you go back and you can review it and upgrade that goal if needed. The second thing was a timeline. What are the deadlines? The third thing was actions. What are the actions to achieve the goal? And the fourth thing was the motivation. Because if things get stuck, this motivation will carry you through the frustration. And he was also saying with all those 4 points of like trying to pick a perfect goal, just don't. Just pick one and go with it. Make sure it makes sense for the season. But it's also like breaking down that goal. So maybe it's hard to dream big because of XYZ. We're in a pandemic. It's hard to dream big because we're in a pandemic. We're all stuck at home. We're all blah, blah, blah. This is impossible and the blank, fill in the blank, and I'm still going to do it. It can still happen. This is impossible and everyone in Young Living has achieved this, or other people in Young Living have already achieved this. This is impossible and you're capable of more than you think. Just realize that. So he had that little blank. This is impossible and blank. Whatever fear or that something is coming up, fill in that blank, right? Was that what you got from that?
That's what I have too. And I think that was such an important statement. This is impossible. And so you're kind of quelling that part of yourself that's going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, because of this, because of that, because of this, I can't. You're going, yes, it's impossible. And this is what I'm going to do. And this reminds me that, when someone's inspirational, like Jean talking about and showing us the things that she does every day, the posting, the keeping a great attitude and a great motivation and passion. It's like, it's not to say that that's easy, but are we in life to have things be easy? Or are we in life to grow and to change? And there are uncomfortable periods in that growth and change. And there are times when we feel like we can't do it anymore. And so that's why it's really important to have the tools like the essential oils, to have tools like writing a really powerful statement down on a piece of paper that you put up on your wall or on your mirror, or you have a great friend who you can call to inspire you, or you have a great website or something, or a video that you go to that, you know, inspires you. It's like, how much more can we fill our life with these tools that are keeping us buoyed, that are keeping us on the track that we want to be on? Because those things are going to happen where we have these thoughts that aren't on that track, or these feelings or things come up in life that are shocking to us, and we kind of fall apart for a little bit. What can we do to move ourselves back on the track that we want to be on? And so there's this idea of, oh, we're going to fail or succeed. It's got to be one of those things. And if you actually take action on something, you're either going to get where you're going or you're going to get closer. And that's the actual truth of the matter. Failure is a concept we have in our mind that we use to stop our own growth and movement. And if we can realize that if we take action, we're either going to get closer or we're going to get there, that is such a different point of view than I'm going to fail or I'm going to succeed. Because then when you feel like you're failing, you feel down, you feel like you're not at that success point, then you're going to start going down into that dark chasm instead of going, actually, today is just a little rocky. What am I going to do to like move forward, change my state basically, because it's not an optimal state for where I want to be, where I want to go. And then knowing that you're still going in the right direction, even though it's not as easy as other days when it seemed like you were like, yeah, this is the best, right? So just knowing that we're all human and this happens, but those people who are inspirational or who seem successful to us are those that are taking the steps and using the tools in order to move themselves toward where they want to be. And they have that strong why, they have that strong passion, they have that strong motivation. And that's what keeps them going.
Exactly. And it reminds me of that the other thing that John Acuff said, will embrace the new January because of everything that's going on with the COVID and everything. Like, he had to rethink things. You know, you have to rethink things. And also, like, the failure thing, it's a mind, it's totally like, I've also been doing the mindset journal, and it's at the end of the day, I like, how did you feel? What worked? What's gonna, and I've been doing it more with like being positive. Okay, I did get this done. Instead of looking at the things that I didn't get done and the things that I still needed to do, I got things accomplished that I was able to. There were still some things I got, not all of them, but I did a great amount. And so to focus on that instead of trying to beat myself up on what didn't happen.
It's a great reminder to celebrate small successes. So in Buddhism, there's a certain deity named Zambala, and he's like the guy, he always celebrates everything. So whereas our human like tendency is to get down on ourselves for every little thing that we think has gone wrong, but every micron so-called in the wrong direction, he celebrates every micron in the right direction. And so it's like, I had a couple of my students, I got them pom-poms. So like literally like, get yourself a pom-pom or do this. Yeah. Every time you do that little step in the right direction. So when Jean's talking about reflecting back on our day and going, actually, these are the things that I really did well, or aside from feeling like crap, I got up, I got dressed, I showed up, for Facebook Live, or I did this other thing. It's like that at that time, do something like, yeah, I did it. Do that kind of something that's creating that chemistry inside your own body. And usually we got to do some kind of physical movement for it. And then your brain will start to understand, oh, I want more of this, because happiness is like a wonderful chemical, in our brain. We love it. And actually smiling takes less muscles in your face than frowning. So if you think about that too. So
right.
Similarly, like, we're actually geared toward happiness. We just, somehow we fall into this negative bias.
Those are some great key points. I love that, Allison. And I'm super grateful to have you on the team and to be doing these videos with you. And with the convention, you guys, there is so much that you learn. And I'm so grateful that they have given us this to look back on, so we can either write more notes, because there are some things that I have as list of like, hey, I need to go back and look at this, or I really need to help like use this as my action steps and kind of have that positivity. So it's been very refreshing to have the recordings and to just sometimes listen to them when I'm doing the dishes or the laundry or something, to just help me get it more in my brain, because repetition does create awareness.
Approach life going, I deliberately choose to be happy aside from circumstances. Then when life, deals you different things, or you have different things show up, you're more geared toward not the negative bias, but actually more toward a positive bias. And so you actually see those opportunities and see those things as something valuable that you go, oh yeah, I want that. So yeah, what I want to say is, finding your why, finding what you are passionate about, reflecting on that. And then next, like thinking, how am I going to win the day? And so gearing toward that, which helps you look at goals and whatnot. What's it going to take for me to win the day? Okay. And then meeting each day fresh like that, and then what's my motivation? What's my passion? And then every time you move a micron in that right direction, celebrate, 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 celebrate. Okay. And share that celebration with other people too. And being silly and being happy moves us back into that more childlike state. And it's so helpful to our health, and it's so helpful to our mindset and all of that.
That is awesome. Those are some great words. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. We're going to tune off the recording and do some awesome things for scheduling and whatnot and figuring out. But thank you again. And thank you, Allison. You are awesome. And everyone on here is great. You guys can do it. You can do it. It's so easy. Just have that mindset and keep smiling and having fun.
Yay. Bye.
Bye.